UFC 272 is a pretty good card. A card that may not reveal all of its secrets straight off the bat, but make no mistake, there are more than a few reasons to get excited here. More than a few bouts that will likely have implications for a number of divisions moving forward. However, at the very top of the night comes the welterweight showdown between the former friends turned bitter enemies that are Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. And before we even get into that matchup and the pair's uniquely interesting dynamic, it is important to note that both men are in a pretty tough position right now. It's pretty rare that you get two top contenders facing off in a main event level showdown, one that's in some ways giving off title eliminator vibes, but both men have suffered two separate defeats to the reigning champion. Each man has been finished by Kamaru Usman, and both have fallen by way of decision. And though Colby's pair of matchups were far more evenly contested than Masvidal's were, these two men do stand to lose quite a lot if they fail to win in this non-title pay-per-view main event. Because while from a competitive standpoint, I could totally see a scenario where Colby finds his way back into the cage with Usman again, in my eyes he still will have to do something quite special in order to reignite the public's interest in his chances in a third matchup. Sure, the second fight was quite close, but in reality, as a pairing, it didn't really leave us salivating at the prospect of a third fight in the way that would make it seem like a realistic prospect this year. I mean, look, if Colby goes in there and does something truly spectacular against Masvidal, something that forces us to reassess him and his fighting approach and how it could be a threat to Kamaru Usman, then perhaps. Just as it is with Jorge, I think there is a need for a transformative win for both guys. Colby with how it reflects on our perception of his path to victory through his fighting style and its danger levels against Usman, and for Masvidal simply because he needs it, a victory that would see him recapture the imagination of the public after a truly brutal knockout loss. So while yes, I do think that both men would benefit hugely from a win, I also believe that Colby will need to do more than just win to fully reap the rewards that may come out of this bout. A victory under virtually any circumstances will probably be good enough for Masvidal's stock to get an almighty kick. The question is whether it will be enough to make anyone crave for a third matchup with Usman, if that's what Jorge wants. So yeah, these two guys, while certainly in different positions in their careers and within the welterweight ranks, will both have to look at this fight as a unique one in their respective trajectories. Using that rare non-title pay-per-view headlining position as their platform, the stage will be set for the winner to make an argument for their inclusion in the title mix, coming into the second half of this year. Because truth be told, while the 170-pound division is truly an excellent weight class, its upper levels are in a bit of a transitional period right now. Obviously, Leon Edwards deserves to be next in line for the belt, but guys like Gilbert Burns, Vicente Luque and Bilal Muhammad haven't got that title challenger win just yet, while prospects like Sean Brady, Khamzat Chimaev and Shavkat Rakhmonov are still some ways off breaking into the discussion. Then you have the likes of Colby and Masvidal, who even with a decent win next weekend, could still find themselves in limbo for the rest of the year. The champion hasn't quite cleared out the division just yet, but he has certainly left it stunted to some extent. And I do think that, especially for Colby, I could see Dana and the UFC opting to do a third matchup with Usman to keep the champion ticking over until the likes of Chimaev has had their shot at breaking through. Not that I think it's an absolute certainty that Usman would win, but I just think that's how the promotion might approach it. And in fairness, we have seen enough from him to suggest that he would be the favourite. As for Jorge getting a third crack, I'm not so sure. But what a win for Gamebred would do is open the door to more big purses, more big fights that would fill that BMF belt kind of role in his future. And I do think that Jorge understands this. A rematch with Nate Diaz would obviously do good numbers. And moving forward, given that the clock is ticking on his best years in the sport, everything I've heard from Masvidal seems to suggest that he knows his role, knows that the matchup here against Colby isn't so much an opportunity to get back at Usman as it is for him to take part in a blockbuster showdown, with its major selling point coming in the form of their grudge match. And yeah, a defeat, especially in the fashion that Colby is known to dish them out in, could well damage Jorge's brand. But if Covington does get sucked into this contest and the personal edge that it has, choosing to turn up the heat and contest a majority of it on the feet, I really do believe that this could be a lot of fun. Both guys have very different striking styles, and are just pretty solid no matter where the bout ends up. And just like I think that Masvidal would be far from helpless in the face of Colby's wrestling, if that is the route that he takes, I also don't think that Jorge's supposed edge in the striking department will be as pronounced as people think. Technically, sure, but Colby's game is something that just makes him a very unique danger within this sport. It's his attributes, his pace. So how do I see it going? Well, I would expect that Jorge is going to bring the fire in this fight, and based on their shared history, I would not be surprised at all to see this one get quite ugly over fight week, as both men, seeing a golden opportunity to put on a show, knowing where they both stand in relation to Usman, yeah, I could see them elevating the stakes through fight week and all of the press conferences and UFC embedded episodes before then going to war on fight night. I'm certainly going to be favoring Colby Covington on the scorecards, although I certainly would not rule out a Masvidal stoppage. But above all other things, I really believe this matchup will be an all-out war. I do believe that both of these guys understand that bringing the thunder here is going to do wonders for the eventual winner's stock in a way that a regular victory might not. And sure, it took me a while to come around to this fight, but now that I have, I'm definitely quite excited to see how it turns out. But who do you think will get their hand raised in the UFC 272 main event? And with that pick in mind, what do you see as a best case scenario for the winners 2022 as a whole? Do let us know your opinions in the comment section below. We always love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.